Good morning to everyone, and welcome on my side as well. It's a great pleasure for me to be here today in such a wonderful place, and let me take this opportunity on my side as well to especially thank the Alumni Association, and especially, of course, Pietro Guindani, the president, and the chapter leader of London, Stefano Donati, for having organized such a wonderful event. A special thank also to the steering committee members, Claudio, Davide, Diego, and Massimo, and of course all the team of Gianfranco Minutolo who organized and looked after this very nice event. Now, as it is now quite common practice for me, I usually tend to address the alumni community with a kind of, say, state of your alma mater's address, so with some of the main recent achievements of Bocconi. I will spend then a few words on something that I see a bit more important, which is how we see Bocconi evolving in the next years. We're now quite strongly engaged in elaborating, under the guidance of our president Mario Monti as well, the strategic plan that will guide Bocconi in the next 5 years. So far we've been following the guidelines of the 2011-2015 strategic plan. And then I'll also say a few words about the campaign that we are officially launching today in this very event. Now, a few considerations about recent achievements. Now, very simple points. I will not go too much into the details. The first chart you can see here is the evolution of the number of international students at Bocconi, and it's not even considering the ones belonging to SDA Bocconi, our School of Management, which has been in some way the pioneering school in launching international programs with the MBA at the end of the 80s. So you can see that that is growing. Why am I showing that to you? Well, in some way this is simply a very simple evidence of how Bocconi is getting more and more attractive, not only in our country, but all over the world. I just learned from my colleague Stefania Bianchi that we registered a further 15% increase in the international students' applications for our undergraduate program. So the university is becoming more and more attractive all over the world, and of course the campus is becoming more and more an international campus where you listen and hear many different languages being spoken. The same is true for faculty. The number of international faculty members is growing over time. Here we're very much building on the valuable work that our predecessors made in the past few years, and I'm very happy to thank my predecessor Guido Tabellini, who's here with us today. It's not so relevant the nationality of the faculty, but what you can also see on the right side of the chart is that we are now increasingly recruiting well, I would say exclusively recruiting our faculty and researchers from the international market. This is again something that has been updated 3 days ago, because we received the news, the positive news, the good news 3 days ago. That is a chart that I sometimes show to our alumni, even if it does concern research only. That is a chart which is showing those institutions which are hosting ERC grants, i.e. European Research Council grants, in a very specific area, which is economics, finance, and management, which in some way is the core of what Bocconi has been doing in all its history. And if you simply look at the number of ERC granted hosted by different institutions, you can see that in this specific area, Bocconi is now #1 in Europe in terms of the number of grants. These are very competitive grants, which are quite significant also in terms of amount. We also are in the top 10 in the social sciences, which I think is a very, very good result. And clearly we are ahead of very prestigious institutions in Europe and in this country. Fourth point, what are we doing in learning and teaching, which of course has to be kept updated with the innovations both in technology and in the way younger generations, new generation communicate and learn. We are investing a lot in this area together with the CEO Bruno Pavesi, and we've been launching massive open online courses which are registering very significant numbers of attendance. You can see we have now 3, but we're developing more, and this is a strong way to make Bocconi visible with high quality products online all over the world. Each one of them, as you can see, has more than 20,000 people attending. We're also very heavily investing in infrastructure, in new lecture theaters and new technologies that in some way are helping the learning process in Bocconi. And that's clearly a very significant area for the future as well. One aspect that I very much care about, most of you had international exposures during your studies at Bocconi and clearly during your professional life. And you all know how significant that is, not only as individuals, but also as employers when you look at young graduates. That is something we very much focus on. We want all of our students to have an international exposure, either through study programs abroad or through international professional experiences, internships or things like that. And here we're making a lot of effort. You can see that in this chart. That on the left is the number of international partnerships. We have now one of the most significant networks all over the world. And here a couple of colleagues I'd like to especially thank, Stefano Caselli, who's here with us today, my Vice Rector for International Affairs, and Laura Candotti, the head of the Market Division. And similarly for double degrees, I mean, these are more intense kind of collaborations that we've developing in some way as pioneers as well and have been strengthened very significantly in the recent past. The same is true for our graduates. More and more of our graduates now work all over the world. And you can see that on the right-hand side of the chart, that we're now close to a quarter of our graduates being employed abroad. I very much believe that that is very significant also when these people come back to Italy and bring their expertise and experience for the benefit of the economy of our own country. With this kind of purpose, we've also been developing in the last couple of years international job fairs. So we're not only running job fairs on campus twice a year, we're running these job fairs in Paris, here in London, in Shanghai, in Mumbai. I was myself in Paris last week for a meeting with the alumni and for the job fair with, plenty of students being there already or coming from Milan and companies interviewing them. So this is a very significant effort and activity. What about the rankings, which is something that often people like you ask about? Now, we are progressing in the right direction. We had a target which was to be among the top 10 in all the main rankings in Europe by 2016. And you can see from this chart that we are very, very close to that target. The first one you see is the social sciences QS ranking, which is a very significant one for universities as a whole. And we are positioned 6th in Europe and actually 2nd in continental Europe after INSEAD. The others are the FT rankings. We've been improving consistently in the last 3 years. I must say that we're not yet where I would like Bocconi to be, and of course we are working hard in that, but the trend is positive, as you can see from this chart. And of course it's a game that without talking about the limits of these kind of rankings, it's very important for us to play. So that's about what we did so far, okay? What about the future? Now, in terms of the future, we have a vision in some way and very clear strategic objectives that will guide the next strategic plan. This is a kind of mission statements for our university. It's very simply focusing on the key areas. So advancing frontiers of knowledge in the area of the social sciences, which very much relates to research. And you can see that more and more of our faculty members are engaged in the public debate. They're also sometimes stolen to us and by governments, unfortunately, or fortunately for the country. The second one very much refers to education, which, despite all the innovation, remains, as you well know, very rigorous and, of course, based on the most advanced methodologies. The third one very much refers to the community. Of course, we're not isolated. We work in our community. We believe we play a significant role in the city, in the country, and in Europe, and we hope to progress in this respect as well. Of course, we very much care about employment opportunities for our graduates. I didn't mention that. We're now above 94% employment at 1 year after graduation, which is, to us, a very good result. Of course, we do everything possible to improve, even improve in this respect, but clearly we are already at a very good level. And finally, we are investing a lot in enhancing the campus and the life in the campus, and the CEO, Bruno Pavesi, will say a few more words about this crucial objective. And we translated this mission into very clear objectives. These objectives are specifically quantified, each one of them, in terms of, for example, growth of the faculty, positioning of the different departments at the European level in terms of research, production and productivity, teaching and learning, the international exposure of our students, which is something I mentioned already. Let me mention one that I very much care about, which is the ninth one, increase investments in social mobility. That is an area we are very much investing. Every year, Bocconi invests now 24 million euros in scholarships, tuition waivers, and other kind of financial assistance to our students. And that is, of course, extremely important. Many of you have benefited from these kind of tools and have benefited from the, say, social elevator that Bocconi has always played in its history. And that, to us, is extremely important, and we are planning to invest with our CEO, with our president, to invest more over the years in this very crucial area. If we want to translate all that in a nutshell, in some way, what we're trying to do is continue to increase the attractiveness of Bocconi all over the world, for faculty, for students, for staff, which of course are the three crucial components. And we believe that there is a fourth crucial pillar, and that is you, the alumni, who can play a significant role in helping us in pursuing these objectives. Of course, improving the attractiveness of our university requires significant investments. The investments, and these are the three priorities of the campaign, will be faculty and research. It will be students, especially focusing on social mobility that I just mentioned, and of course campus. And here Bruno will show you some of the most significant investment that we are making already, we're planning to make in the near future. So that is why we're launching officially this campaign. It is a campaign with two crucial numbers. One is the amount that we plan to raise, and that is 120 million euros. And the other one is the deadline, i.e. 2020. We have already achieved very good results. We have already raised 67 million over the past years. Therefore, the residual objective is 53 million to be raised in the next few years. And of course, we believe that the role of the alumni in this kind of effort is significant, and will be significant, and must be significant. And we see that very much as a pact among generations. In some way, those who benefited from Bocconi in the past, helping the ones that could benefit in the future. And of course, this gets back to the social mobility issue that I mentioned already. We also launched, as some of you know, we already had good results in fundraising from the alumni, some 800,000 euros already in the past 3 years. Some of you have already generously given to the university, and clearly sponsoring key programs like the Scelta Possibile, the possible choice, which is very much helping young kids coming from very difficult social and economic backgrounds to come to Bocconi and experience the benefit of our education. To conclude, I personally believe that Bocconi has nowadays a very, very strong potential. We have achieved, as I mentioned, very important results, but there is a strong potential in the future as well. And to become one of the key leading institutions, higher education institutions in Europe. And we think that the role of the fourth pillar, the alumni, is and will be a crucial one. We see that as a significant challenge. We designed that with that very simple picture, a young kid flying a whale. So something that looks impossible, but that we strongly believe it is within our reach. So let me now show you a short video that we prepared for the official launch of the campaign. Please, the video.